Out of all the USO cases that you went over, which one was it? Were there any that stuck out to you, or that
Many.
Really?
Quite a few that I think are just amazing.
What?
I can throw out a couple for you.
Throw a couple. Also, I want to know more about that 1717 case.
Yeah, I'll tell you that right now. That's right off the coast of Martinique. That's in the Caribbean.
Okay.
So it's not that far from where we are here. We're in Florida. The name of the captain, I cannot recall his name. Chevalier something. He wrote in his log. This is at it's after midnight, so it's dark. There was I looked into this. There was like a half moon out, so there was some light that was available. And what he claimed to have seen was a vertical orientation, like a rod. He said it was like a mast of a ship. So like I envision like a straight perpendicular rod of some sort, but above the water, moving along with his ship. It's not the best case, but it's not the worst. Like it was. I decided to include it because he wrote it in a very matter-of-fact way. It was like
1717.
1717.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is way before submarines, obviously.
Absolutely. And the 18th century, which that is part of, there's not many that I have found. There's an interesting one off the coast of southern France, I think from 1740. That's kind of interesting. And then there's one from a little small river in Scotland in 1767. And I think that might be it for the 18th, only like a couple of cases. Right. It really starts going, the first really good one that I just was kind of really taken by took place in 1825. And this was on a British vessel where they had just returned from Hawaii. In fact, there's a lot of interesting stories going on here. But they were coming back from Hawaii and they were going down the Pacific and they were going to end up in Chile.
Okay. So
they were down by the Cook Islands. So it's like way down in the south part of the Pacific Ocean. And it's 3:30 in the morning. The ship's, there was a naturalist aboard the ship. I think of like in the movie Master and Commander, the buddy of Russell Crowe, the captain, was this naturalist that they had aboard the ship. And it's around the same time period. So I'm thinking something like that. He writes in his log, this is 1825, his name was Andrew Bloxam. We've got his name. His book is published. You can find the PDF online. I have a link to it from my book. And he said, 3:30, the watch on the ship reported a spherical object emerging from the ocean. He said it was like, it looked like a red cannon shot coming out of the water. So it was like a deep orange type of a color, but incredibly bright. He said it was so bright, and he literally said you could pick a pin off the deck. It lifted up to a certain elevation and then went back down into the water and then came up a second time and then went back into the water. Now, how many naturalistic explanations can you think of that can account for this? I can't think of any. And Bloxam writes this in a very straightforward way. I mean, you read the rest of his diaries. I read some of it. I mean, he was clearly a very meticulous, very rational man and a very intelligent guy. And this just is this one bizarre entry in his journal from August 12th, 1825. That's a heck of a case. And I thought that's like the first really, really cool case.
Do you remember how close or how far they were from land?
They were off the Cook Islands. So those are, far. I don't know how close they were to that. They were, I don't think they were close to land. Okay. I think they were out there. They were out in the ocean. Wow. I don't know exactly. So he said, And there's some other good ones from the 19th century. There's one from, what's that there?
I found the story. Block Sam with an X. Where is it? I just found it.
You got it?
Yeah. Well, this is the story.
Good. Good deal. Yeah.
What does it got? You got illustrations or what?
Yeah, I think this is the illustration of that event.
Oh.
Or at least it's included with the story.
Oh, okay. Looks like an iceberg behind it, right?
Yeah, they weren't by icebergs.
Yeah, Cook Islands, there wouldn't have been icebergs.
No. But that's the name, Andrew Bloxam, right there.
Interesting.
Yeah, the HMS Blonde, correct. That's the ship.
And what year again?
25.
25.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah, right?
what was the size of the thing? Did they do?
I don't think he was a direct witness. I think he was reporting what the night watch reported.
Ah, okay.
So there's that. So
Yeah.
he's not a direct witness. So
Okay.
you can take that away from him.
Okay.
But they, I don't know if they had a really good size estimate. I get the impression it was kind of large. I mean, it was noticeable. It was very bright.
Lit up the deck of the ship.
By the way, so fast forward about 150 years to 1971.
Okay.
This is going into my next volume. And the USS John F. Kennedy aircraft carrier. So is near Puerto Rico, just saying. They were just finished what were called carrier qualifications. So they had done, this is a very involved series of exercises, and they had just completed that. It's 8:30, July 2nd, 1971. And the man operating communications, and we have his name. He in fact reported this to Stephen Greer 25 years ago, and it's in Greer's book Disclosure, which he wrote back then. And his name is James Kopf with a K, and he also reported this to a couple of other websites at the time. So he's operating communications on the JFK carrier, 8:30 at night, and he says, suddenly all of the communication, he discussed the way the communications on the ship were. He said incoming and outgoing. He said suddenly everything was just gibberish. Everything coming in was just garbled messages. He's like, what's going on here? And then he hears, I'm laughing, but it's kind of not that funny. He hears on the intercom someone screaming, "It's God, it's the end of the world." So he's thinking, what is going on? He's able to go out and look, and he sees almost what is described in Bloxham's account from 1825. He sees a glowing orange sphere hovering above or near the JFK. He said it gave off about half the strength of sunlight. So it's kind of bright. And there are sailors who were having a really difficult time emotionally with this. One, he said later, definitely had to be sedated in some way or another, and whatever. So he's watching this for maybe half a minute, not long, and then the ship goes to battle stations, general quarters, so they've all got to go. So he has to go back to his communication station, where he says for the next 20, 25 minutes, the ship was on general quarters and the communications were just down. And he also stated that he believed that the weapons, like aircraft, like I think what do they have, F-4s, they were not operational. So the aircraft would not fly or weapons would not operate. So anyway, I mention this because that glowing spherical object, I mean, to me, it seems like it could have been identical to the one from the 1820s. And you get this same type of glowing globular sphere. Yeah, like what is that, right?
What is that? I wonder how many of them there are. You know, because like the first one that I ever heard about was the Tic Tac.
Yeah,
and that thing was like zooming around, zipping around, and I think
there's a good chance there was something below the water there too.
Oh,
this
you
is
think,
what it
you think
looks
there was
like.
a bigger ship that it came out of or something like that?
I think so. Yeah, there's talk about that, and it's not 100% confirmed, but that's what I think is probably the case. But yeah, well, the Tic Tac's a great case for sure, absolutely for sure.
I mean, that one's like apparently it's documented on all of his radar, right? Even though it hasn't been released.
Well, there's a lot of good witnesses for that. Kevin Day, who operated the radar aboard the USS Princeton, who's a very decent man, is a friend of ours, was there and has talked about this in great detail. And of course, we have David Fravor's testimony and a number of the other witnesses now have come out who have discussed it. So I don't think that we have any doubt that something very, very unusual happened there for sure, of extremely high order of intelligence as well. I mean, anything that can appear at what's called the cap point before
you get there,
they get there. It's
like time travel.
Putoff called it space-time metric engineering. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Wow.
In some way.
And that's San Diego, right? That's not anywhere near Catalina.
It's off the coast of, that happened off the coast of Lower Baja California.
Oh, that was near Baja, California.
I think, yeah, a little south, probably southwest of San Diego, I think.
Okay.
Not that far.
Right.
But out there in the Pacific.
Yeah,
there's a lot of crazy stuff out in the ocean.
I have a friend who lives in Tijuana, and he says there's all kinds of like UFO stuff going on out there, especially like in the like USO type stuff and stuff that you really don't hear about in like the media in the US.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of anecdotal information in Mexico. I have, we spoke to a couple of years ago a gentleman who had an interesting USO account off the Yucatan part of it, on the other side.
Oh, really?
But I don't think they get reported officially. So they're just like the stories are floating around there, as it were. And I have no doubt there's far more cases that are connected to Mexico than we probably, than I have been able to find.